Hey guys, it's Gus, and here's my updated Warden Ranger build for module or the Master Shackles of Divinity trial. And I use this exclusively for this trial. That's basically the only content I'm running right now. There's some downsides to this build, but there's a lot of upsides, and I think you may be surprised with what we can do. This module is offering gear upgrades that I don't think we've ever had previously. The gears are really good, guys. So if you can get in this trial, good on you. There's not a lot of teams completing it on PlayStation, unfortunately. But even if you run the advanced, there's a lot of good items in the advanced trial as well. So, first downside is the item level is kind of low. I'm normally running with the 125.2k item level, and I took a downgrade in item level in order to boost my damage output, believe it or not. If I ever do get the CA helm, the celestial one, I may equip it, but I don't know if I will ever get that helmet. These celestials are super rare drops. Um, but the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over stats before consumables wear off. People are fixated on stats. If you're looking for a stat cap build, you should probably go to the next video because I am not stat capped. The buffs I'm using are the campfire buff, squash soup, ratatouille, flask of potency rank 3 plus 1, and the Sunlord's gift elixir. Standing here by myself, I'm at 81.4 power. But when you add the 18% from the Raptor, the 3.5% from the Detector set, the 2% from the Atrian, the 2.25% from the Runic Aura, the 2.25% from the Mystic Aura, the 3.5% from the Portobello, and the 7% power you get from the boots, we'll be at 119.9. So we're 1/10 of 1 percentage point underneath being capped. Accuracy is also under capped. We're currently at 66.8, but if you had the 2.25% from the Mystic Aura, 10.8% from the Lightning Enchantment, 1.75 from the Forte from Detectors, and the 8% from the Gloves, we'll be at 89.6. So 0.4% under on accuracy. Um, Unfortunately, I'm overcapped on combat advantage. We're currently at 69.1. But if you add the 10% from this helmet, the 10% from these pants, the 7% from the detector set, the 2.15% from the spider totem, the 3.375 from the two-time pack tactics, the 5% from the aspect of the pack, 5% from tutor, 5% from flapjack, and 3.5% from portobello. We're currently over CA by 120.475. So 475 ratings over. And there's a lot of downsides with having CA rely on so much stuff. This takes you won't have this CA during the first artifact call, but this trial is kind of a long one, so you'll have it up for the majority of it. Also, the spider totem, if you die, you lose that 2.5%. The good thing is once your group starts getting more proficient at it, you actually don't die that often. Um, and you're also relying on 5% from pack tactic or aspect of the pack, which is kind of sus. But we're grouped up pretty heavily in this trial, so I'm usually benefiting from it. But yeah, there's some downsides to CA for sure. Crit is also undercapped, currently at 58.1. But when you add the 10.8 from the lightning enchantment, 4% from the aura, from the healer paladin, the 2% from Atrian, the 7.5% crit from the chest piece. This gives 7.5% crit, and the 7% from the boots. We're at 89.4, so we're under by 6/10 of a percent. And then crit Seth is currently at 105.6, but when you add the 7% from this chest piece and the 7% from these boots, we will be at 120.1. So we're wasting 100 ratings right there. So altogether, we're missing 0.1% power, 0.4% accuracy, and 0.6% crit, which means we're missing 1.1% offensive stats, which would be nice to have because that is a little bit of damage. And people say, if you're missing only 1% damage, that's not a big deal. Well, 1% damage is nearly 20 million damage in this trial, give or take. And I know 1% stats is not 1% damage, but you really want to maximize your output in this trial because there's so much going on. Um, so that's the stats. That's what we're looking at. So we're using the CA helmet from not the dungeon we just had, but the dungeon before that. The layer, oh my god, I already forgot it, but that's where you get that helmet. This chest comes from the new master version. It gives 7.5% crit, 7.5% crit severity. If you notice, it has all defensive stats. Well, it has some forte. And we're also using these gloves. These gloves are really good, guys. 8% accuracy and 4% combat advantage at all times. So the accuracy you only have when you're in combat with one enemy, which is the majority of the fight. And then the CA you're having all the time. So finally, some really nice gloves. I am using the weapons, and some people say perfect would be better, and you might be right. The problem is if I got that 5% crit from the perfect weapons, I don't know where I could allocate my current 5% crit into something else that would equate to more damage. So I really don't have a lot of room to shuffle that around. But these weapons, I'm liking them regardless. The 3% constant damage, the 5% crit severity, and the 12% movement speed and the high item level. I just really like them. I know all classes don't benefit from these weapons, but as a ranger, I think they're pretty good. Uh, 12% movement speed is really increased damage. The more movement speed you have, the more attacks you can get in before you have to move because you can get out of the danger spots even quicker. So, like when she screams, I can squeeze in an extra attack or two before I run backwards and get away from her. And then I can get back up to her even faster with increased movement speed. I really like movement speed. I've always been a big advocate of it. I'm still using the detector set except for the choker. I went back to the Forte one. I'm a lot more comfortable in the dungeon, so I don't feel like I need as much survivability as I used to need. Um, I'm using the Crit Sev ring, very expensive. Uh, I'm also using the 5% damage ring, which is, you're going to notice a difference with that. And then for the shirt and pants, these are really good too. So this shirt gives you 7% outgoing damage. These pants give you 10% combat advantage. And when you have both of them, you get a 2% combat advantage bonus. So the shirt and pants are higher item level, 12% CA, and 7% outgoing damage in this trial. Good stuff. I have to have the detectors portable spell jammer because I have the detector set in here. And then I'm using two high item level artifacts. So hopefully I can be. A lot of times nobody complains about me being on the spell jammer. And then if not, I could use night flame. If not, I'll just put on another debuff, like usually demo. Ugh. And then you have a choice. So we do have two more high item level. We could use the Crimson Calamity from the last battle pass, or we could use the Halo from the current dungeon. The Halo gives no offensive ratings. The Calamity artifact gives 1500 CA. So I would prefer to use the Calamity. But in this current build, I need all the ratings I can get. So you have a choice between 2000 item level, the Blood Brass Pistol or the Assassin's Knife. I actually go with the Assassin's Knife because this is giving a lot more ratings than the Blood Brass Pistol. Both are great because they give combined rating equal to the item level, which is very rare. But this one's giving 4,500 offensive ratings. This one's giving, oh, I don't even know if I want to add it up. It looks like it's giving 450 more offensive ratings than this is. So I needed those. So I'm going with the Assassin's Knife. Uh, Quick note on the ring, there's three 5% damage rings you can get from the advanced version. One of them has hardly any offensive stats. It's really cheap in the auction house or offensive ratings. This one gives the medium amount of offensive ratings, but I went with this even though I could use the extra ratings from the other one. The problem with the other one is it gives so much crit, and I just cannot work the crit around it. I don't know if it's even possible to fit all that crit in there. So I went with the Sanguine Seal, which happens to be the most expensive one in the auction house if you don't get it to drop. So what you'll notice on this front page is we got a lot of outgoing damage. We got 3% outgoing damage from the weapons. We got 7% outgoing damage from the shirt. And we got 5% offensive damage from the ring. Or 5% outgoing damage is the ring. And then when we go to enhancements, I'm using mostly triple slot for the extra ratings. A bismuth, amylite, a bone filigree, and this one's a moonstone. It's only 2 slot, but I'm using every rating I can in here. You want to go all defense. So if you have the ones that give power, this one, if you have garnets, you really want to just load up on garnets on this side if you have them. I don't have them, and I don't feel the need to have them. This is something you might like about this build as well. Instead of using uh, the I already forgot the name. Rage of Flames and Devil's Precision. Instead of using the Devil's Precision for the crit strike and accuracy, I'm actually using the Thay Supremacy, which reduces incoming damage by 5%, but more importantly, it gives a 5% additional damage proc to all your hits. So because this build has so many extra stats, I can take off the Devil's Precision, get even more damage in this build, which is kind of the theme of this build is stacking as much outgoing as you can once you nearly cap. Powers, everything's pretty standard here. I am using aspect of the pack. Unfortunately, Seeker's Vengeance I don't think works on the top layer of this dungeon. Down below it will work, but I don't really give a shit about down there. I care about the damage up top. But we are getting. I'm not using Aspect of Lone Wolf, which means we get even more damage from the Blade Storm, which is an additional damage proc we can get. It's not a lot, but it's a little bit. I think it would provide more damage than the Aspect of the Serpent, the way my rotation's going, which has been covered a lot of times in the past. But this aspect of the pack, you got to have people close to you in order to get this. So, but generally, we're pretty bunched up in there. But that's one other thing I like about this build is I'm not having to use Aspect of Lone Wolf for stats. I can get even more damage from Blade Storm. Boons, put everything in offensive. Uh, you need Marathon Runner. I got everything in Lingering Medicine. I got 5 points in all 3 potion slots because I have not used the Hellstone yet this trial. I've been using the Potion of Rejuvenation, which you can get by with silver from most merchants, including the one in PE. But of all these up here, the 3 I think you will want the most is Bloodlust, Life Lessons, and Blessed Advantage. For the guild stronghold, for this current build I'm using crit strike, believe it or not. Um, and then defense, and then when you're learning the dungeon, revive sickness is great, but once you're comfortable, you really movement speed will help you get more attacks in. But what I wish I had is nobody on my alliance I think has this is the healing potion boon bonus. I'd rather use this one than all the rest of them, believe it or not, because I'm not using the Hellstone. This should help with the potion of rejuvenation, but I can't find it to confirm that. Companions, any summon companion that will help the group. It's pretty standard. Everybody's using the same, pretty much the same setups. You know, you're going to want a scorpion, you're going to want a spine devil, you're going to want a tutor, you're going to want a dritz, you're going to want a flapjack, you're going to want, an atrian and or a blue eye fire. You don't want to be stuck on the blue fire eye if you're a DPS though. It does like no damage, just like the Dritz does no damage. But the companions, Batiri, Minsk, Neverwinter Night, Raptor, and check this out because I'm good on stats. So I could use this utility power and make up for my 1.1% offensive stats. Or I can use the Celestial Lion's Presence which procs your hits by an additional 9%. Now this one applied to your mount. It won't apply to your tool belt item like the owlbearer, um, but it will apply to all your normal at wills and encounters. And what's nice is when we use our Thorn Ward and Split the Sky, those procs trigger Celestial Lion's presence. So if you have this activated in your buff bar, you'll get additional damage from those two encounters as well. So that's really nice. If you this is up during an artifact call, this does a lot more damage than what people think it does. But outside the artifact call, it's pretty dog shit. But this trial is all about the artifact call. Uh, so equipment, I have all three Than Sword Knots of the Companions for the accuracy, combat advantage, and forte. And this is another thing you like about the build. Vulnerability. So I'm using a group buff instead of a personal buff because our ratings are so good. Now, you're going to laugh, but this build I could easily take off a raptor. Really easy. I might make a non-raptor build in the future. I don't know. The thing with the trial is you'll need a group of 5 people not using a raptor. Or you have a group that they're like, okay, we're good with one person missing a raptor. Otherwise, you make a build that's not going to help anybody. So, but there's so much extra room in this build to do whatever you want. So I could go 5 damage companions really easily, but I'm not. I because of the aforementioned topics I just discussed. But the vulnerability is really nice. That's a group buff. Uh, the celestial companion mounts. I'm using golden touch. I know this doesn't do as much damage as the Big B's hand, but in the amount of time I cast this, I think I'm getting off one, probably two at wills. And the thing about these at wills is I am using Blade Hurricane. I've seen a number of people not using it, but I'm still using it. So what this does is it doubles the magnitude. It doesn't give you 100% outgoing damage. It literally, because those have diminished returns, it doubles the magnitude. So if I cast 2 rapid shots in the time it would take me to cast the Big B's hand, I'm I'm getting 360 magnitude out of these hits. So I'm sorry, 80, 160, 320 magnitude from 2 rapid strike hits. And I'm pretty sure the 320 magnitude far exceeds whatever damage loss we're going from Big B's hand to Golden Touch. And Golden Touch is from the Golden Warhorse that you can find in the event vendor in PE. Let's go back to mounts. Ferocity, again, this build is all about, nearly capping stats, but getting as much outgoing damage as possible. Ferocity is really good, guys. The whole time you're downstairs, you're taking damage ticks. This is at full cap the whole time. And in P7, it's at full cap the whole time. Plus, you're going to get it with whatever damage is going on up there. So P7 is when you need the damage the most, and that's when you're getting it the most. And you're also getting it down below where you're trying to get through it as fast as possible. So again, so using a stat, we're doing more outgoing damage. Um, these are pretty standard. The colors I'm using: crit sev, encounter damage. I'm using stamina gain. Movement speed is a must for me, anyways. And the gold bonus, you can put whatever you want. You can put AD gain right there. It doesn't matter. It's just 1,000 item level. Uh, if you notice, I do have 2 skills in here. I probably could take off a skill and up my accuracy, but then my CA would go down. But I'm I'm not gonna mess with it that much. I'm pretty content where we're at right now. But I have a gladiators, tacticians, and cavalry. Those cavalry, tactician, and gladiators are probably the 3 things you need to have. And I was using 2 defensive ones, Lionheart's perseverance to give um, to heal you whenever your hit points got low enough, and then the one that gives you hit points and defense. I'm feeling comfortable enough not using those though. So what I did is the executioners and assassins for more ratings. Most of everything is brutal. This one has 3 brutals and a dominance. This one has 4 brutals. This one has 2 brutals, a dominance, and a skill. This one has a dominance, 2 brutals, a skill. This one has 3 brutals and a dominance. And I know dominance is not optimal because you're putting some of that your potential ratings into deflect. But I didn't have the Rainer's character builder is so awesome. It's been my boon, my such a plus for me, and I didn't have it for this build, so it probably can be fine tuned a little bit more. And so I think I covered everything on mounts. I am a Gith. I have been like 4 or 5 different races this module, and I'm still going back to the Gith. As a melee strength-based character, you really want to do a race that gives you as much strength as possible. So human is good, metallic dragonborn is good, Gith is good, and I forget which one gives crit sev. But I have gone that one because that one also gives strength. So you do want strength. So this build has a lot of downsides. The CA takes forever to get up on this helmet. You need multiple players next to you to get the combat advantage from aspect of the pack. The item level is kind of low. It's pretty good. It's much higher than when I started. I went to this dungeon, this new trial at 107k item level, and so I'm 16k higher, which is nice. But it has so much outgoing damage. Let me cover that again. The weapons give outgoing damage. Uh, the ring gives outgoing damage. The pants, the the shirt gives outgoing damage. The Rage of Flames gives outgoing damage. The Day Supremacy gives outgoing damage. Um, the Blade Storm gives outgoing damage. Uh, Vulnerability buffs the group so everybody does more damage. The Celestial Lion Presence gives more outgoing damage. Not necessarily outgoing damage stat, but just flat damage. Neverwinter Night, Minsk, Bateria give more outgoing damage. And Ferocity gives more outgoing damage. So there's a lot of damage procs going on. For the tool belt, I'm using the Spider Totem, the Owlbear, and and the Potion of Rejuvenation, which you can buy from the shops. And I use this, so I use them constantly, guys. So I'm burning through gold. But if you've watching my previous videos, gold's not really an issue for me. This thing, uh, because it can proc lingering medicine, you're getting so much heals over this, and it can save your ass if you miss the heal over time when you're going from P2 to P3, or from P4 to P5, or from P6 to P7, and you're going up those platforms. You're just gonna die. And this thing can keep you alive, I believe, a lot better than the Healthstone can. I'm probably biased though. But you might like something. You might be able to use this, even if you're not a ranger. You may be able to make a build something similar to this, because we can. These new gears are amazing, guys. So if you got any questions, comments, or ways to improve this build, or you think it's complete dog shit, please comment below. Stay classy, everyone. See you soon.